So now we will continue with our panel discussion here on stage, and I have the pleasure to welcome two more speakers to our stage. Sabine Stock, Executive Board Member ÖBB-Personenverkehr AG and CEO of Go Ahead Group, Schreyer. Please come to us on stage. So a quick note for everyone here in the audience. At the end of this session, you have the opportunity to ask questions. So I have some colleagues with mics, and at the end of the session, please raise your hand. We will bring you a mic, and then you can ask some questions to our wonderful speakers here. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Now we want to talk about, the title of this session is Delivering a Sustainable Mobility Ecosystem Which Works for All. And I would like to start with you, Christian and Sabine. What is your vision for a sustainable mobility system?
It's delivering seamless travel experience, house to house, not only station to station. We spoke a lot today about infrastructure investment, how important infrastructure is, but we always spoke about rail infrastructure. I think it is important, but also the last mile is important. If you really want to motivate people to park their car or not to even buy a second car, we need to see that there's a seamless travel chain, that it's easy to access public transport. And the last mile is often done by bus. We haven't spoken a lot about bus, and also bus needs infrastructure. How can we invest millions into electric buses if they are parked in traffic jams? And they need to run. So it's quite cheap to build bus infrastructure, bus priority lanes, bus priority signaling, and this is not so much in the focus of the public discussion, and I would like to see that more in the public discussion, to really use bus, zero-emission bus, as the last mile service to deliver seamless travel chains.
Sabine?
Yes, I've mentioned some of the points already before, so not much expanding on this. Here in Austria, and I think it's actually a trend in many countries, we don't, in many aspects, the wave has already started, and we rather need to think about strategies on how to actually meet the demand. Yeah? So that's new trains, more capacity, more buses, and so on. So for not expanding on that again, I'd like to stress a bit on what we called about, intermodality and end-to-end solutions, but also on how to get people on public transport for part of the trip. For example, we have one of the programs we are expanding is a cooperation with Austrian Airlines, where we try to get the people on the train for the first or last leg of the trip. They can actually, book the whole trip, and then the part from, say, Linz to Salzburg, from Linz to Vienna, will be by train. And I think that kind of program of cooperation is also something very important, because there will always be air travel, there will always be cars, but of course it doesn't need to be spent on every leg of the trip. In general, and there I totally agree, we must get rid of the idea that public transport is only rail. I'd even go further and say it's more than rail and bus. It is whatever enables the transition from owned mobility to shared mobility, be it e-scooters that are shared, or e-cars that are shared, or bicycles that are shared, or buses on demand when there's not enough demand for a line. I think all this is part of that vision that we need in the future.
And here I clearly agree. I think if you want to really, increase the business and public transport, we have to have a holistic view, absolutely. And all what Sabine, this is all part of the ecosystem. And the challenge is how to best have the offer, integrate them, and then what is really part of public transport, who will get which subsidies. And I think on the political arena, there will be a lot of discussion as well, who is going to fund or not, like some sharing offers, which are, it's financially quite challenging. So become that of public transportation or not? I think there will be very interesting discussion in future as well.
Maybe to add one thing that hasn't been mentioned yet, the slow mobility, walking and cycling. That's also an interesting challenge because I see that in many European countries the bicycle infrastructure is not great. It's not a comfortable and safe experience to use your bicycle to go to the station. And I think it's fair to say that in the Netherlands we have an enormous bicycle infrastructure, and you see that tens of percents of people are actually using the bicycle to go to the station, but you need safe parking, you need bike lanes, and in many countries in Europe, as a cyclist, you still have to go on the pavement, and it's not safe for cyclists and it's not safe for pedestrians. So indeed you need a lot of funding also to improve the infrastructure. I agree totally with Christian on that, but it's not just for buses, but it's also for slow transportation.
Sabine, I would like to continue with you. What do you think are the biggest competitors if we want to attract people to sustainable mobility? So let's say public transport now in our case. And what do you think, or how are we as public transport able to compete effectively also with the aviation industry, for example, or with car and so on?
So I think these are the two biggest competitors indeed, road and air travel. I think it has two sides, right? And a bit of it I have mentioned before. It's not a level playing field. I like to say if it was a soccer game, rail would be playing upward, because against all these taxes we have and that other sectors don't. We also play upward because we have the massive problem of interoperability, which just really does make it difficult. And I really feel with Elmer, it's the old material on the trains, but it's also the operations is difficult, and you don't have that in air. But then also I think as a 180-year-old industry, and ÖBB as a 100-year-old company we just celebrated last Saturday, we need to be quicker in thinking for our customers. It is, I think, the case that booking an airline ticket online is easier in most cases than booking a rail ticket online. So also we have to do our homework, absolutely.
Christian, let's continue with that. First, do you agree with this? And my next question would be, what do you think are the biggest challenges in general to delivering a good experience for our customers in public transport?
Yes, I agree. However, we are more a public transport company in the sense of daily commuting. So for us, it's not the airline that is a competitor, it's really the car. And we do a lot of inner city mobility or commuting into cities. And also here, there's no level playing field. We always, let's say, car has a much bigger lobby than public transport has. And that's a pity, because I think public transport really serves a purpose, as you mentioned before, rightly. And we always discuss the CO2 footprint. It's an important part, and how do we really price it properly. But what we always forget is space in cities. If you reduce a lane for cars, there is a big turmoil everywhere. If you cancel 100 parking space, everyone shouts. But this is a problem. Space is scarce in cities, and you can take 60 cars off the road with one articulated bus. You can take 500 cars off the road with one commuter train. And we never have this discussion that space has a cost. And in my opinion, we need much more congestion charges, more expensive parking, because we do not properly, fairly price space. And that's something what, in my opinion, we need to do if we want to create a level playing field also here in the competition with the car. I'm not against cars, but I don't think that cars have to be in downtown. It makes also a city much more attractive. If you just see what Paris has done over the last 5 years. 5 years ago, it was a car city. Now it's a bicycle and bus and underground city. It's really amazing what you can do in 5 years if you really want to. And I think this is something we need to see far more in Europe.
Interesting statement. I would like to continue with customer experience. I think for a good customer experience, it's important for us to know our customer. And maybe a question to you all, how can we effectively understand our customers and see their wishes? Maybe Sabine would like to start.
Maybe I start with of course one of my pet topics today. When we bought the night trains from Deutsche Bahn in 2016, it became pretty clear that this was a business that was going to grow, and already in 2018 we ordered new trains. But then, of course, the question was, is a train that was designed something like 40 or 60 years ago actually still meeting the customer needs of today, let alone the customer needs of in 40 years when this train will still run? And I think maybe generally this is really a challenge for train operators. We order trains today which will arrive in 5 years and then will still run in 45, right? So already in design to meet really your customer experience needs, you need to build in a lot of flexibility. But for this specific one, for the Nightjet, so we really had the challenge and say, okay, so do we just build the same couchette as everybody has seen for the last, I don't know how many years? We decided not. For example, this one has only fixed beds. We found out that for the operations we do, we actually don't need a lot of day travel. It's really just the beginning and the end. And that our customers value a good bed a lot. If you actually have a good mattress, and that you can only achieve if it's actually a fixed bed. We did a lot of research on this. The culmination point is after a lot of we observed customers. We looked at how do they behave in a train. What do they really need? These trains come from a time when you didn't want to have your cell phone next to you on your bed. Means they typically, it's little things like this, they don't have a socket to put your phone next to your bed. It just wasn't a need 40 years ago. So we asked customers, we observed customers. Then we had a big design contest won by Priestman Good, who's here today. The culmination of this was a really mock-up train, so compartment really on real size. We asked people, to go in the train to behave as if they were spending the night, to lie down in 2018, and then finally it was built. And I think innovation in the space of customer experience, considering the hardware, really needs this, because we speak about assets that live so very long.
Yeah, I think I agree regarding rolling stock. If you look, the train is a train, you have some seats, you can still, not do a gym or, it has not evolved a lot. And I think, if we can manage to bring more innovation, the way you see the comfort in seating. So now at SBB, we are trying to see how the train of the future could look like with, much more enhanced seating experience, there's only, ideas, Ideas I have many. Now we have to see what we can materialize. But I think, what can you bring the customer, especially on the high-end segment? Because we realize that, there's a willingness to pay for first class, so premium products. But then you need to really offer, what you offer. This is a question you need to really answer.
You have something to add?
I think for customer experience, it's first important to listen to your customer. And I think in the daily commuting, where people do not spend hours in a train, our people tell us, our passengers tell us, the most important part is reliability. It's as easy as that. They want to be on time when they go to their job, when they go to school. It is reliability. And if something happens that I have real-time information, this is really what our passengers expect from us, and this is where we need to get better. So try to be reliable, and if not, immediately give them real-time information and show them travel alternatives to reach their target on time or their destination on time. I think this is what our passengers tell us in the daily commuting.
And I think, real-time information, I totally agree with you, and if possible also personalized, because, the proficient commuters, some information he just do not need. The tourist who travel for the first time on a train, maybe, he needs kind of information. So really have personalized information is key, and the enhancement of real time is, it's a challenge, but I think now with the new technology, we should be able to do a big step ahead, because this is really what customers value, to understand what's happening, what are my next connection options, just to get this information as fast as possible in a customer-friendly way as well, not too technical.
What I would like to add is the perspective of every train company, every bus company says we are listening to our customers. And I believe you do. I mean, there's lots of panels and things being done. But what really helps us, basically, is that we are owned by about 1,800 owners that have invested in our company, and we have a huge network of people that are enthusiastic about the night train, and many of these people either have ideas as users or they have relevant experience in the sector. And we are really trying to tap into this network because we are crowd-funded so far, and I think that really helps. And what also I want to connect to is it's really about the basics. I think many customers don't really want super innovative things. It's nice to speak about innovation because it can basically distract you from the needs of now. So it's nicer to dream sometimes than to solve problems. But when the train is on time, when it's clean, and when everything is properly functioning, then many customers are already pretty happy, also on the long-distance trains. So we should also not forget to get the basics right, I think, and to really engage, organize yourself in a way as a company that really forces you to engage. We are owned by those people, so we are forced to listen to them.
Thank you. For a last question to you all, I've talked with Veronique a little bit about it. What is the role of technology, or especially the digitalization, in our business? So if we talk about customer experience. Maybe Christian, Sabine, you would like to start?
It's crucial on all sides. It's crucial to increase capacity. As Veronique explained before, it's going to be the next step for capacity increase. It's crucial for seamless experience, for seamless intermodal booking. I think digitization in really all ends of mobility is a crucial part of the transition, absolutely.
But it's also a big challenge, how to do this a more effective way. So we definitely rely a lot on suppliers, on startups, on partnership to help us drive the digitalization, because of course it's a huge task and a big challenge, and it's of total strategic importance. So we cannot fail there.
You have something to add?
Yeah, I think the main challenge here is that if everyone approaches digitalization in their own little way, and if everyone is going to make their own app, then I have to have 20 million apps on my phone, and I don't like that. So to really put the data out there, make sure that everyone can use it. Data is not a privileged data, is something that people expect because they want to have the information. And to really make sure that someone who can create a great app for seamless mobility can do that with the data provided by the operators. I think that is something we should not be shy to throw it out there and let people work on that who are great at doing that.
I fully agree with that. We need to be much more open with our data, because at the end, if it should be really successful, you will have a couple of very well-known applications that people use, and then they want to see all operators. We speak about seamlessly, we speak about travel change that see different operators. You don't want to use 5 different, 6 different apps for one trip. But we speak too much, we speak a lot about digitalization in an interface to the customer, which is important. I think it's obvious that everyone wants to be informed via his mobile phone. But where our industry is not as good yet is to use digitalization on the production side, which at the end increases efficiency, but also makes the system cheaper. We speak, since I joined the industry almost 25 years ago, we speak about preventive maintenance, but we still haven't achieved that level, even so we have a lot of even predictive maintenance. So yes, everyone has now maintenance systems, digital maintenance systems, but we are still not good compared to automotive industry or other industries. So there's still a lot that we have to catch up, because also at the end, This increases reliability, it increases efficiency, makes the system more attractive, and the passenger benefits from it at the end. So there's a lot we still have to catch up.
Yeah, I wanted to add one thing. I think that what is really proven is that if a solution for clients is good, like an app where you can buy a train journey, people are going to use it, and therefore it's really important that everyone gets shown in that app, but also the tickets for those trains get sold. And I'm of course speaking about European Sleeper. It's nice that we are in the Deutsche Bahn app, but we also want our tickets sold in there. Because people don't really care who is the operator. People want to book a journey, let's say, from Rostock to Brugge, and they don't care that they have 3 operators. So I think that this is really something very important if we look at this digitalization, that people want to have a seamless experience.
So thank you very much. And now I have good news to you all, because we are absolutely in time. So now we have time for some questions from the audience. And the first
It's really hard to see.
hand is in the air. So please introduce yourself in 1 or 2 sentences and then ask your question, please.
Yes, my name is Christoph Glauser from Switzerland. I would have a question to Valerie. I'm actually traveling a lot in Germany. I'm living in Vienna and in Buuren, and I compare between the public transports a lot, and it's quite funny to see that in Switzerland, for example, you don't meet anyone to ask. Could you maybe improve this a bit, because in the railway stations there are usually nobody to ask and for things. In Germany, you can ask people. You will find someone who can tell you about a difficult journey. In Austria, also you can find someone to ask, but they are not very friendly. But you can ask. In Germany, you can ask, and they are friendly, and they plan you a difficult journey with the train. But in Switzerland, you are better off when you are a box, because the SBB would have to take you and put you on the train, but you are not a box, you are a passenger, you know. Could you improve or maybe just check for good practices between the 3 countries and improve a bit here?
Of course, we listen to our customers, so of course I will do that. So I will, but you know, I'm surprised you are saying they are not people, because I see far too many people when I go to a train station, when I go and see our team colleagues. I'm surprised how many there are, especially in Bern with a yellow jacket. So I'm a little bit surprised by your comment, but you are a customer, very valuable customer. So I will look and check.
Thank you. In the back, we have a question. Yes, the mic is coming.
Yeah, thank you very much for this event. My name is Josef Schneider, representing the European Passenger Federation. It's not a question, more an observation. I'm very happy that you said information overall is the first thing passengers need. I can just give you an example, and I would really ask you, that's maybe the question, how can you do quickly the easy and low-hanging fruits? One example, I traveled yesterday from Passau to Vienna. Passau is on the border between Austria and Germany. There are construction works at the moment, so there is a bus replacement. The question, did you ever try this and ask the customers how this works? If you go to Passau station, you won't find a proper information where the bus is leaving, at what time he is leaving. If you go on the website of DB and, for example, you want to go to Scherding, you are advised to go to Wels by a bus. It's more or less 100 kilometers in the eastern direction, and then to take a train backwards to, in a western direction, 80 kilometers to Scherding. In reality, there is a bus going directly from Passau to Scherding. So my intention is try every day to think from a passenger's point of view, try your own system, try it multimodal, and try to solve the easy solvable problems. Thank you.
So thank you for the statement. Next question. We have 2 questions here in this section and here. my colleagues are coming. Well, yeah.
Thank you. I'm Robert Beltler from Tyrolean Transport Authority. We often say competition drives innovation and makes the service better, yet we have two representatives of arguably two of the best rail operators in all of Europe, Switzerland of course, and Austria. And these are very closed markets. So please, could you expand on how is competition helping driving innovation and making the service better, and why is it still that the very closed markets offer the best services in Europe?
Sabine, you go first.
Okay, but I'll try my best. I think first I wouldn't agree that there's little competition in Austria. I think on the attractive tracks, which is Vienna going west with Westbahn, that's a very important competitor, and then there's RegioJet, so there's a second one. I wouldn't actually perceive this as little. And as had been said before, of course, this makes an incumbent move, right, of being even more attractive. So I would, in principle, agree on that. But then your basic question has been, of course, a political one, and an interesting one. Why are the systems which did not have, say, a very brutal liberalization phase like England, for example, perceived as the best rail countries in Europe? I dare to say there's not enough statistics of saying liberalization as such is a good means, or a closed market is a good means. I think what you definitely need in all cases, and I believe firmly we have this in Austria and Switzerland, is political stakeholders that do take rail seriously. And I think one of the reasons why it works well in these countries, other than in other countries, for example, we have a rail development plan with budgets for several years ahead for the infrastructure buildings, and we've had this for many, many years. Other than other countries where the rail infrastructure is battling for a new budget every year. And I think that kind of thing of having a political politics that believes in rail as an important sector, I think that is crucial more than anything else.
Naturally, I might have a little different opinion as being a representative of a private operator. In my career, I've worked for both sides. I spent 15 years at Deutsche Bahn and then many years at Transdev and now at Go Ahead. I think there's not one answer. It's about how much you can afford. Yes, the Swiss system is fantastic. And yes, the Austrian system is a good rail system. But if you look at the costs that the Swiss system or the Swiss taxpayer is willing to pay a lot for this, and that's at the end also a decision, what do you do with tax money? And for sure, competition brings efficiency gains. One of our business models was also to take over former city-owned transport companies where the cities just couldn't afford this operation anymore. And if you look at spare ratios, we have 10% maximum spare ratio in buses. We nevertheless operate well. Most public-owned or city-owned transport operators have 30 to 40% spare ratio. So it drives efficiency. So it's at the end, it's a question of costs. However, where I really agree with Sabine Stock is you need a guiding mind behind it. You cannot just live it to Manchester capitalism. Everyone does what he wants, because then you will not have seamless travel experiences. Then you will have very good services on profitable routes, and the rest you won't have a good transport system. So in my opinion, you need both. You need a strong guiding mind, and then you can tender parts of the transportation work to bring in some competition, to bring in new ideas, and to bring more efficiency and agility, what you mentioned before. Sometimes competition makes companies run faster.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, it will competition also have the good advantage. On the other hand, how Sabine said, I think that both Austria and Switzerland, we have very good quality. And basically, it's not only the reliability, which is outstanding in Switzerland, but also the fact that this interoperability of all public transport. So since many years in Switzerland, you buy one single ticket, and you can use a bus, a boat, a cable car, a train, and this is only feasible because everyone is joining the same party. It will be, believe me, we are 272 or 73 transport companies in Switzerland. Is already challenging enough. So if we will have complete liberalization, this, I'm not sure we could maintain this. It will be extremely difficult.
Just to go back, Germany has a 49 euro ticket and has a lot of competition in commuter train, not in long distance so much, but in commuter trains, and it works as well because you have a clearinghouse that uses the income, and you have a guiding mind behind it. So they tender transportation, and nevertheless you can have an interoperable ticket, 49 tickets that you can use everywhere. So you can have both.
I think it's important to mention that you can set the conditions, and the capacity that you are using as operators is still scarce. So it is. I don't like this distinction between private and public as being two opposed things. Because also, if you want to run a privately run train, you need facilities to clean the train, to put the train somewhere, to park it somewhere. So it's not true that a so-called privatized system could operate without publicly funded facilities. So it's really something that goes together. And it's in the end a political choice. How much money do you want to put in the rail system? How, if you want to have 2 times as many passengers in 2030 in the long distance trains, that's nice, but where are we going to put those trains? So it's really put the money where the mouth is, and then you can have a good mix, I think, of different kind of operators.
Thank you. So I think we have time for one more question. Yes, please.
Thank you, Daniel from SBB, and I like what I hear about space and how technically grown up our system is, but the question more, you mentioned about how airline booking is easier, and I think also I have a bigger sense of security in the airline, that an airline will get me there and even book me through a concurrent if needed, if cheaper, and as two of you are going to be concurrents, how can we get in the rail industry and the rail world that I have the same easiness and security that I will get there, and that even maybe I get to Amsterdam if one of your train will be shut down.
Please.
Yeah, I let my colleagues then do the solutions, but I've been a strategy consultant for 15 years, and like my personal statistics is just saying the statement is not right. It's you get stranded, you get delayed, you get whatever. You get a reasonable service if you're a HON member at Miles & More. If you're not, bad luck. Yeah? And I think we have a very high expectation on the rail system. I'm not saying we shouldn't have it, I think we should. But rail, we are just used that anything that's more than a 3 minutes delay is a delay. And a 2 hours delay on an airplane for most people is acceptable because they've calculated that in. And now, I'm sorry, I don't want this to be too much of a defense, and I think we all have solutions for this, but let's just please everybody who's boarding a plane is not seriously expecting to land on time. I mean.
I think what is interesting to... I think what is interesting to mention is that from very soon on, there will be 2 operators running a daily service from Brussels to Berlin. A daily together, that is, 3 times a week, almost daily, I think, 3 times a week by ÖBB, 3 times a week by European Sleeper. What happens if you miss that train? Do you get put on the next train? And is that next train from the same operator? If you want to wait for our next train, it's going to take you 2 days. So what I really would encourage is that we would agree with each other that, we can take over passengers from ÖBB, we can take over passengers from Deutsche Bahn. If they miss the last day train, we can bring them to Brussels, but also the other way around. And there is at this moment an agreement called AGAC, but it's very limited. It's only within the same operator. And I think that we really can take steps as train operators to make that better, also for connecting services, for instance, in Brussels onto the Eurostar. If we are late, people don't automatically get to take the next Eurostar. If the Eurostar is late, what happens a lot as well, they don't automatically get to take a Eurostar train to Cologne or a Deutsche Bahn train, or if they miss hours. So we really can do something more there, I think.
I agree to some extent with your comment. On the other hand, you know, when you book a flight, you don't get rebooked to any possible flight. So if you are with Miles and More, so you have to take, you will be rebooked if you are lucky, on a flight of the same group. So no way they will put you on a better flight, British Airways. So, you know, I think I understand your vision, but also the airline hasn't materialized this either. And I think, I think we
have different experiences, but
not a little bit better than maybe the railway, but not always. And I think we are working on that. But I think there's also a matter of expectation. And I think the railway, we haven't positioned ourselves well enough, because I agree with Sabine, there is an expectation. You know, Swiss people, for them, 3 minutes delay is a disaster. When they drive a car, they always have 3 minutes delay or more, you know. And if they fly, Swiss is not here today, but, you know, we know the statistics. After COVID, you know, it's not glamorous. It's not glamorous. So I think, you know, the expectation that people associate with the rail, it's also something we have to work on as well, especially on cross-border connections.
Yes, and that's so not having, it was not meant to be a defense, it's just, I firmly do believe this, but of course we need to be punctual, we need to be even more punctual, even cross borders, and I think there's a second thing, we need to increase tact, because that is indeed in an airplane often, like very often there is a second flight to Brussels or a third flight to Brussels, and I think the more connections we have, the more acceptable it will also be. I think the whole system still has to grow in punctuality and tact to be really competitive in this one too. Yeah.
And definitely the way we engage with the customer as well. I think here we are failing a bit customer centricity, just to take better care of these customers who are facing a disruption or a problem in their journey. I think there sometimes we could go the extra mile, but we don't always do. Let's be honest.
Thanks all of you.